Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
We spend so much of our time looking at really complex policy, right? Global geopolitics.
The heavy stuff, for sure.
Exactly. But sometimes the real story, the thing that tells you the most about power and influence, it's not in a policy paper. It happens in this really blurry intersection.
Where political theater meets, well, sheer celebrity.
Sheer, unadulterated, global celebrity. And that's what we're talking about today. Those moments when an athlete, someone so famous they're beyond any one country, just collides with the highest level of political power.
And the sparks that fly are pretty illuminating.
Absolutely.
And that's a perfect description of our focus for today. We are diving deep into a very recent, very high-profile encounter. We're talking about the meeting between the soccer icon Cristiano Ronaldo, his fiancée Georgina Rodriguez, and President Donald Trump at the White House.
And this is so much more than just a photo op.
Oh, way more. We've been sifting through a really fascinating stack of source material. Everything from, the official summaries to celebrity social media, and even the really granular claims from professional lip readers.
Which is where things get really interesting. So our mission for you, the listener, is to get past the headlines here and really unpack the surprising subtext. What's going on underneath these interactions?
Right. What are the motivations when a world leader engages with a global star?
Was this meeting framed as, a diplomatic achievement? Or was it really just a way to get a personal favor, maybe bolster some parental pride?
Well, we want to see what these small, seemingly off-script moments tell us about the very strange economy of sports fame and political influence.
And we should probably establish a crucial piece of context right from the top, because it colors everything that follows.
Absolutely. This was not a meeting that was just thrust upon Ronaldo. Our sources are very clear on this.
He wanted this.
He did. This was a sought-after connection for the Portugal captain. He had already said very publicly that he wanted to cross paths with Trump.
I remember that. It was in the Piers Morgan interview.
Exactly. Stated it explicitly earlier this month. So this was a deliberate, a two-way connection where both the political figure and the global celebrity stood to gain something from the interaction.
Okay, so that sets the stage perfectly. Let's get into it. So let's start with the meeting itself, the Ronaldo meetup. The big question is, was this a diplomatic achievement or was it something more like parental bragging?
I think we need to zoom in on the specific context of this meeting right away because the environment makes what happened next all the more remarkable.
Okay.
So Ronaldo, he's 40 now, captain for Al Nassr FC in the Saudi Pro League, a huge figure. He wasn't there for just a casual tour of the White House.
No, this was a major event.
A huge event. He was invited as one of the ultra-select VIPs to a very formal black tie dinner.
And we really have to stress the gravity of that event. This wasn't just some general state dinner.
Not at all.
This was held specifically to honor Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. So it places it squarely in the realm of high-stakes, geopolitically significant diplomacy.
Precisely. The guest list was, highly curated. It was designed to reflect powerful connections, mutual respect between nations. That's the backdrop.
A moment of pure statecraft.
It was supposed to be. But the moment Trump and Melania made their entrance, the script it tore. The president, instead of sticking to the expected diplomatic pleasantries, focusing on the dignitary he's there to honor,
He immediately shifts the focus.
completely, abruptly pivots the entire energy of the room to his son, Barron.
And that's where the encounter stops being about international relations and becomes something deeply, deeply personal. I mean, almost vulnerable in a way.
That's a great way to put it. This immediate redirection of attention away from the crown prince onto his own 19-year-old son, that's the core moment. It tells you the underlying motivation for even having Ronaldo there.
It showed that, for Trump, the highest and best use of this incredible high-profile access was for a personal domestic purpose.
It was an immediate pivot to securing a positive father-son moment. And our source material has the precise quote that had guests and later commentators just raising their eyebrows.
Let's hear it.
Because it framed the introduction of Ronaldo to Barron not as some, nice little bonus of a state dinner, but as a major parental achievement, a transaction.
A transaction designed to get a result at home.
Exactly. The quote was, "My son is a big fan of Ronaldo. Wherever Ronaldo is here, Barron got to meet him, and I think he respects his father a little bit more now, just the fact that I introduced you."
Okay, let's just stop there and unpack that language, because that is so loaded with implication.
It really is.
You have a political leader on a diplomatic stage explicitly saying that his power The power of his office to grant this access directly translates to an improvement in his personal standing with his own child. I mean, why use Ronaldo, a global icon, as a tool for securing a little bit more respect from your son? What does that tell us?
Well, it says a lot about the perceived nature of power in this era, doesn't it? In that specific moment, the currency that Trump felt was the most valuable wasn't diplomatic leverage, it wasn't an economic deal,
Man.
it was cultural currency. The ability to deliver access to a figure who is bigger than politics, who speaks directly to a younger generation, it transforms Ronaldo into a facilitator of parental validation.
It suggests that for all the immense political power he held, that power alone wasn't enough to bridge that gap or get the reverence he wanted from his son. He needed to bring in a cultural icon to seal the deal.
The introduction becomes the achievement.
I wonder if it's purely parental, though. I mean, could you argue this is also a kind of brilliant statecraft, just a different sort?
How do you mean?
Well, by veering off script and making it so personal, doesn't he kind of humanize the whole event? He's showing the Crown Prince's entourage and the global press this spectacle of highly personalized, high-value celebrity access. He's demonstrating a unique kind of influence.
So it's transactional, but the transaction is in goodwill and spectacle, not policy points.
Exactly.
That's a fascinating way to look at it. If you see it through the lens of PR and modern political signaling, you're absolutely right. The main outcome he's highlighting isn't geopolitical. It's the ability to deliver something uniquely personal and high status.
It elevates the access itself.
It elevates the access above the stated purpose of the dinner. The political achievement is framed entirely as a personal success. It's basically saying, look at the level of connection I command. I can pull the world's biggest stars into a private moment for my own family.
And that kind of personalization, even if it's a bit awkward, it definitely gets more attention than the formal state dinner itself.
Oh, for sure.
And think about the hierarchy it sets up. Ronaldo, this 40-year-old superstar, is there to meet a foreign dignitary. But his real function, according to the host, is to serve this very domestic, almost vulnerable emotional purpose.
To make the father look better in the son's eyes.
It's a very public admission of using the highest office for a very basic human desire, parental approval.
It's really something. And just to tie off one small but relevant detail that comes up later in the public reaction.
Go on.
Ronaldo's partner, the Spanish-Argentine model Georgina Rodriguez, was there with him. The source material correctly calls her his fiancée or future wife.
Right. They're not married.
They are not married. And this is just a small factual point, but the very vigilant online public was quick to correct anyone who got it wrong, which just underscores how intensely every single element of this gathering was being scrutinized.
No detail is too small when the spotlight is this bright.
Okay.
So we move from that very public, very quotable comment at the dinner to what happened next, which was a more intimate but still highly visible interaction.
Right. This wasn't just a quick handshake and a quote. The evening continued.
They got a private tour.
A private tour for Ronaldo and Rodriguez. And this really continues that theme of personalized treatment. The high level of access just keeps going.
And the video footage shows them being taken on a stroll, right? On the White House grounds.
Specifically past the area known as the Presidential Walk of Fame, which is right outside the West Wing.
So giving them access to that specific area, that's not standard. That's another signal.
It absolutely is. It solidifies the personalized nature of the tour. This is not for every visitor. It's reserved treatment, signaling extreme deference to the superstar.
And this private stroll is what produced that short, powerful clip. Just 13 seconds long, shared all over X, formerly Twitter.
It went completely viral and immediately sparked this frenzy of interpretation.
And the key thing is the conversation in the clip is muted. You can see Trump talking, and you can see Ronaldo responding with what the sources called a hearty laugh.
But without the actual audio, the public just rushes in to fill the vacuum, to impose their own meaning on it.
And that's where the lip readers come in.
Exactly. The content of this silent exchange became a huge talking point. It prompted reports from outlets like the Daily Mail, which cited a well-known lip reader, N.J. Hickling, to give the public what they were desperate for, the actual conversation.
The intrigue here is just incredible. So what did the lip reader claim was being discussed? Especially after the dinner's focus on Barron.
Well, Hickling's claims suggest the conversation circled right back to that central domestic theme. Barron's relationship with the sport that defines Ronaldo's entire career.
Okay, so claim number one.
Claim number one. Trump was discussing Barron's supposed lack of interest in football.
Wow. Okay, so that immediately connects this private walk right back to the dinner and the whole theme of parental respect.
It's all part of the same narrative thread.
So what were the specific quotes attributed to Trump during this muted exchange?
Well, claim number 2 suggests Trump explicitly said to Ronaldo, "He doesn't play at all. It's a shame, really. It's a great sport."
Okay.
And claim number 3 suggests he continued and he offered a final compliment, maybe aimed at Ronaldo himself. It takes a great player to play football.
This alleged conversation is so specific and just, so strangely intimate for a walk with one of the most famous people on earth. But this brings us to the critical ambiguity, the detail we have to explore.
The word football.
The word football, because the source material specifically says it is unclear whether Trump meant American football, the gridiron sport, or the global version that Ronaldo plays, which we often call soccer here in the U.S.
And that ambiguity is the narrative fault line. The implication of each choice just radically changes how you perceive Trump's comment and, maybe more importantly, Ronaldo's hearty laugh.
Okay, let's spend some time on this. Let's take the first scenario.
Sure.
Interpretation A, Trump was talking about American football.
Right, so if he was discussing American football, the conversation is, well, it's slightly less awkward for Ronaldo, but it still represents a pretty significant cultural disconnect.
You be telling the world's greatest soccer star that your son isn't into a completely different high-contact American sport.
Exactly. So Ronaldo's laugh in that scenario might just be polite amusement at the cultural gap. Or maybe just acknowledging a parent who's lamenting that their kid isn't into a sport, any sport.
The compliment, "It takes a great player to play football," is still a bit strange, but at least it keeps Barron's disinterest away from Ronaldo's own domain. The story is still, a father trying to connect with a superstar, but maybe making a slight cultural misstep.
A bit of a fumble, you could say.
Right. But then we have the more intriguing and potentially much more embarrassing scenario. Interpretation B. He was talking about the global game. Soccer.
And if the lip reader correctly identified the subject as soccer, the conversation shifts from just awkward to truly bizarre. It would mean that Trump brought up Barron's specific lack of interest in the very sport that defines Ronaldo's entire existence.
And this is right after the previous night's comment about using him to secure respect.
It's an incredible sequence. He's essentially confessing to the world's greatest master of that art that his son, the very child for whom he sought this audience, actually doesn't care for the guest's life's work.
And he delivers this confession with a compliment. It's a shame, really. It's a great sport.
It almost sounds like a weird, indirect apology or a justification for Barron's lack of interest.
It does. And the laugh from Ronaldo in this scenario is so much harder to figure out. Is it a laugh of disbelief? Is it strained, polite deference to a powerful host who has maybe unintentionally just insulted his entire life's passion?
It just highlights this profound complexity in high-profile communication, where the host seems totally oblivious to how the subject matter might land with the guest. And that ambiguity is exactly why the public became so fixated on that muted clip. People were trying to resolve this dissonance between the cheerful look of it and the potentially deeply embarrassing content underneath.
Right. But regardless of what was actually said, Ronaldo is a master of global branding. His public statement after the fact was perfectly calibrated.
Oh, perfectly. He has to manage the optics of meeting such a polarizing political figure for his enormous global base.
And that base is huge.
It's over 668 million followers on Instagram alone, a platform he uses with surgical precision. His post had a photo with Trump and Rodriguez, and the caption was engineered to be gracious, but also universally aspirational.
He explicitly praised the former Apprentice host for the invitation and for the warm welcome. But the really important move here is how he immediately pivoted. He took the personal encounter and moved it away from the political figure toward this broader, globally acceptable message.
That pivot is everything. He transitions a moment of political access into a statement about his wider cultural purpose. It effectively sanitizes the whole interaction for his diverse global fan base.
So what did he say?
He wrote, "Each of us has something meaningful to give, and I stand ready to do my part as we inspire new generations to build a future defined by courage, responsibility, and lasting peace."
Which is a very carefully constructed message.
It is. It's a generic but powerful call to action, and it contrasts so sharply with the specifics of the alleged conversation about Barron's sports apathy.
It reframes a politically charged meeting as this high-minded, inspiring global event. and it reinforces his own brand as a positive global force.
Masterful PR.
So the minute those dinner comments and the lip-reading analysis hit the news cycle, the public reaction was just instant.
Instant, massive, and as you'd expect, intensely polarized. Our sources capture this immediate division, and to really understand the impact, we have to impartially dissect the nature of that criticism.
Okay, so let's start with the critics who focused not on the conversation itself, but on the motivations of the political figure and the nature of the presidency. There was a strong feeling that these celebrity meetings fulfill a very specific, almost psychological need.
That's right. One reader's comment went straight for the jugular on this point. It suggested that this kind of interaction where a global celebrity is, offering deference, is the only part of the job Trump genuinely enjoys.
I remember that quote.
The quote asserted that this is the only part Donald enjoys. The part where people laugh at his jokes, kiss his rear end, and make him think he's important.
So that critique frames the whole encounter less as a political move and more as a pure exercise in ego reinforcement.
Exactly. Ronaldo's presence isn't just a bonus, it's a necessary input for self-validation. It suggests that the star's status is being borrowed to elevate the politician's own self-perception.
And the criticism didn't stop there. It quickly expanded to accusations of a perceived pattern of exaggeration.
Which is a fascinating use of context, where public commentators link this specific event back to totally unrelated past allegations of misrepresentation.
They pulled in a specific unrelated example, right?
Yes. One writer just dismissed the whole narrative as just another instance of Trump lying, and then specifically referenced a prior claim that his building in New York City has 68 stories when it's officially listed at 58.
And that's critical because it shows that for a segment of the public, these celebrity encounters aren't seen as isolated events.
Not at all. They get immediately slotted into a pre-existing comprehensive narrative about the politician's character. So the story about securing Barron's respect just becomes one more data point in a broader, more questionable narrative, and it gets amplified by the celebrity spectacle.
The language used against both men was certainly not subtle.
No. There was sweeping condemnation. One comment described both Ronaldo and Trump as two disgusting human beings. But beyond the general attacks, there was also just this genuine confusion about the content of the discussion itself.
Right.
And that confusion points directly back to the very specific, off-script nature of the conversation. Critics just struggled to make sense of the focus on Barron's lack of interest in sports at a formal diplomatic event.
Right. One person asked, just bewildered, why the hell would Trump bring up to Ronaldo the fact that Barron doesn't play any sports?
And that question really gets to the heart of the analytical dilemma, doesn't it? If this was a diplomatic engagement, why the intensely personal, almost trivial subject matter?
The public expectation for a White House meeting is state business, policy, diplomacy.
But the observed reality, a discussion about a teenager's apathy, it forces the public to conclude that the event's purpose was primarily rooted in personal connection and access, not high diplomacy.
Okay, now let's go back to that initial statement about securing Barron's respect. The public reaction to that was extremely sharp.
It was. It focused on the potential implications of a father requiring that kind of external validation.
The critique basically interprets the quote as an admission of paternal failure, or at least a powerful vulnerability.
Right. One source says, wow, that says a lot if the only respect your kid has for you is because you introduced him to Ronaldo.
Which really dissects this apparent need to use political power to achieve a fundamental parental connection.
It suggests the father's own status, his own wealth and power were somehow insufficient. He had to use a global icon as an intermediary to secure respect within his own family.
And then we saw this powerful instance of political projection in the comments about the video footage.
This part is fascinating.
Despite Ronaldo giving a hearty laugh and Rodriguez looking cheerful in that 13-second clip, some critics were absolutely insistent that their body language was actually communicating deep disapproval.
This is where we analyze the public's need to impose a narrative of political alignment onto silent footage.
The emotional needs of the polarized viewer just supersede the visible evidence.
Precisely. One critic claimed, Ronaldo looks humorously disgusted. His wife just looks politely disgusted. I think most people are disgusted by the orange man.
And this phenomenon is so crucial to understanding celebrity politics. If a political figure is polarizing, their critics often need to believe that a beloved universal figure like Ronaldo secretly shares their political disgust.
regardless of the star's polite professional behavior on camera?
The public projects their own political feelings onto the celebrity's neutral or positive body language.
But that specific claim, the politely disgusted one, it also led to a very swift and useful intervention from another part of the public.
Right. The intense scrutiny meant that even minor factual errors were immediately corrected. It shows the public acting as a kind of spontaneous fact-checker.
It's the utility of that intense scrutiny. The critic called Georgina Rodriguez his wife, which is a verifiable error, and a responder immediately corrected it, stating she's not his wife, they aren't married.
It's a small correction, but it shows that in this high-stakes, highly polarized atmosphere, even when people are debating psychology and political morality, the fundamental factual details are being scrutinized and enforced by the observing public.
It's a pretty remarkable example of how accountability works in the modern information ecosystem.
Okay, so what's really critical here, and what moves this whole story from just an isolated anecdote into a documented political strategy, is the realization that this use of international soccer stars to connect with Barron is not a one-off event.
No, not at all. By connecting this to the past, we see a distinct, consistent pattern. We could even call it a form of football diplomacy.
This shift takes us back several years. It confirms that this focus on soccer talent as a personal resource dates all the way back to the first Trump administration. And we turn our attention now to another British soccer legend.
The English football manager, Wayne Rooney. Our sources detail a previous attempt by Trump to connect Barron to Rooney when the global star was playing for the MLS club DC United.
So right in his backyard, essentially.
Exactly. And this reveals a very specific, consistent interest in leveraging top European football talent for personal access.
And the details of this interaction are particularly illuminating because they reveal a different, yet equally consistent method of seeking that access.
Yes. Rooney himself talked about it in a May 2024 video on Gary Neville's YouTube channel, The Overlap. He mentioned that he and Trump had played golf together.
So a more casual setting.
A very casual, but still very high-profile interaction. And it was during that golf game that the request was made. Rooney explicitly recalled the content of the request. He said, he asked me to give his son football lessons.
Wow. So that contrasts really sharply with a formal black-tie dinner for Ronaldo. The Rooney request was just a personal favor asked informally on a golf course.
Purely a personal favor, seeking specialized coaching from an icon.
But the motivation is precisely the same. It's leveraging political access to get a personal, highly valued benefit coaching from a major soccer star for his son. It just reinforces this pattern of using fame as parental currency.
Right. And if the Rooney request for lessons was, relatively neutral and direct, his wife Colleen Rooney's recollection of an encounter provides a much sharper, more candid contrast.
This is a very different story.
A very different anecdote. This took place at a White House Christmas party in December 2018.
Okay. And Colleen described the setting, right? It was a formal context, getting the official photograph taken in front of the Christmas tree and stuff, a classic White House photo op.
A very formal moment. But the comment that followed, as she remembered it, was anything but formal.
So what does she say happened?
She detailed this specific off-color comment made by Donald Trump directed at his son while looking at Colleen. He said, "See, told ya, all the soccer players get the good-looking girls."
Oh, wow.
And this anecdote introduces a whole new dimension to the pattern. It's not just using the star for family respect, but commenting on the star's domestic life and personal choices in a very public setting.
This specific anecdote, it provides a level of candid, unvarnished detail that the polite, muted, PR-sanitized Ronaldo interaction just completely lacks. And Colleen's specific internal reaction, when she said she told her mother, it was visceral.
Her internal recollection, which she shared publicly, was to quote her exact response. "Dirty bastard."
And that is powerful source material.
Incredibly powerful. Unlike the vague interpretations of Ronaldo's hearty laugh, this gives us direct, unfiltered, and very strongly negative testimony about an interaction with the political figure during a formal White House event.
It just shatters that polished veneer of celebrity political interactions and shows the raw, personal impact these exchanges can have.
It really does.
So let's bring it all together and synthesize this pattern, because now we have 4 pretty distinct data points.
Okay. 1. The formal, black-tie diplomatic dinner where Ronaldo is used to secure Barron's respect.
2. The private walk where Trump allegedly confesses Barron's apathy towards soccer to Ronaldo.
3. The casual golf game request for personalized lessons from Wayne Rooney.
And 4. The Christmas party anecdote where Colleen Rooney recalls that inappropriate, objectifying comment.
The consistent thread running through all of these incidents is just unmistakable.
The political office is leveraged to secure access to top-tier European football talent. The backdrop changes. Diplomatic dinner, golf course, Christmas party, but the core transaction is always the same.
Access to global sports fame is consistently used for personal, familial, or even, transactional reasons by the political figure, and it often overshadows the official state function.
It confirms that this strategy of football diplomacy for personal gain is a deeply entrenched part of this figure's approach to the presidency. Wow. This deep dive has certainly proven that even the shortest, most muted video clip can conceal just layers of geopolitical and personal subtext.
It really can.
So to recap the key takeaways we've explored, we saw how a formal, black-tie diplomatic dinner was immediately reframed by the host to focus intensely on securing his son Barron's respect.
Which really showcased a prioritization of parental validation over statecraft.
Then we spent a significant amount of time on the bizarre ambiguity of that alleged conversation about Barron's lack of interest in football.
Right, highlighting either the cultural confusion or the sheer awkwardness of confessing that apathy to the world's greatest player in that sport.
And most critically, we established a clear, documented pattern of seeking out these interactions with top European football talent, going all the way back to the Wayne Rooney era.
Which demonstrates that this blending of sports celebrity and personal political ambition is a consistent strategy, not just a one-time thing.
And the core lesson here is really about information synthesis and scrutiny in the digital age. A seemingly trivial celebrity political encounter, like that 13-second muted clip, it becomes a high-intensity political Rorschach test.
Every laugh is analyzed, every relationship status corrected, and every motivation is challenged. For you, the informed listener, these small moments aren't just entertainment.
No, they are windows into the true priorities and maybe even the vulnerabilities of powerful figures.
And that leads us to our final provocative question for you to think about going forward. We know Ronaldo openly said he wanted to cross paths with Trump.
Right, this was a two-way street.
So when a global celebrity proactively seeks out political engagement for their own personal ambition or brand validation, and the political figure simultaneously wants to use that celebrity for domestic gain, how does that blending of personal ambition on both sides change how we should perceive these powerful public moments?
That's a great question. Does the visibility of personal favors and parental pride, overshadowing official state business, does that diminish the authority of the office?
Or is that just the necessary transaction that's required to wield influence in a globally connected, celebrity-obsessed world?
Something to mull over the next time you see a superstar step onto the political stage.